what's up guys? Jeff here with Godbolt Exotics. As you know, we've teamed up with some great companies. These are folks that I've been actually a customer of for years that until getting the YouTube channel here recently, I haven't really had the opportunity to do any collabs with them. If you go to the description section right below this, you'll be able to see a list of who those sponsors are for Godbolt Exotics, and I'm really excited. So one of the agreements that I proposed to them is like, hey, if you guys have something that you want me to showcase, if you have a product that's just coming out, or maybe something you want me to talk about, let me do that. Let me be your guinea pig and I'll do it. With that being said, one of our sponsors is Reptile Basics Incorporated. I've bought from Rich for a long time. He's a great guy and he's had this HobbyStat out for a long time. But until recently, I mean, it's always been a great stat, but until recently, he's actually made some modifications and he's tweaked it a little bit to make it more reliable and to be an overall better product for the consumer, for the hobbyist. With that being said, I wanted to talk about it and talk to you guys about some of the perks about this stat when compared to other stats out there. Again, first thing I want to show is this is an on-off stat. It is not a proportional stat. Proportional stats continually pulse electricity to the heating element. On-off stats work in a, there's a threshold of a certain amount of degrees where they will be on until they hit your desired temperature, and then they'll cut off. And then once it goes below that threshold, then it turns back on to get you back up to that temp. The cool thing about the HobbyStat is it's only got a 1 degree threshold. Your temperatures aren't gonna drop very much, if at all, enough for your animals to really feel it until this thing kicks back on to get up to your desired temp. I wanna talk about the design. I know I'm kind of cutting my head off here, but I want you guys to focus on the thermostat. One thing that's really cool about this guy, I'll go ahead and unplug these real fast. And if you hear a puppy whining in the background, that's Harley. She's pretty much a whiner if she's not sitting on someone's lap all the time. So my puppy's right here at my feet. So this does have a knob. It's a pretty thick thermostat. It's not something that's kind of flimsy, or when you feel it, you don't feel like it's gonna break on you. It's a really solid thermostat. So it's got the knob here. It's not a digital one like you'd see with like the Helix thermostats, which are proportional, or the Spider Robotics, or the Vivarium electronic stats that are all digital. Those are all proportional stats. This is the on-off one. So one thing that's really cool is it has the night drop capability. You just have to buy this accessory cable, which plugs in right here. You can get that from Reptile Basics. I believe it's like maybe 10 bucks. But it goes right here, there's a label. And so you can set this guy to wherever you want. And one thing that's also, first of all, this thing's really easy to use. It's not rocket science. You don't need to have any experience with thermostats or be a longtime herper to understand how this thing works. It's got everything's outlined for you. It comes with the directions. Here's the probe. So you put the probe in here. Now I've got it all tied up, but the probe is a pretty thin one. One thing that I have found that I dislike with a lot of the other thermostats out there is they have this massive probe on there that you have to get a pretty big drill bit to drill into your hole, into your cage or into your rack. So if you're not using that thermostat, as we do switch them out sometimes, you've got this massive hole in there that's letting air through there. If you've got babies that end up being born in it, maybe the babies could get out through there. I hate that. Well, this is a really thin one, so you can drill a small hole in there to fit this guy in there. And so you're gonna mount this to either someplace close to the heat tape if you're using a rack, or you're gonna put this on the perch under the heating element, but this is gonna be where your thermostat is reading the temperatures from, wherever this is. So super easy to use. You just plug it in like that. It's labeled probe right there. And here's your night drop. But again, it doesn't come with the night drop, so you're gonna have to get that, and I think it's like 10 bucks. Another thing I really like is there's 3 prongs. If you're using some of these older stats, they've only got 2. Well, good luck trying to find an extension cord with only 2 prongs on it. I've got an old Big Apple thermostat. It's a proportional stat, and it's only got 2 prongs. So if I want to use an extension cord, I'm screwed. I can't use it. I just think that that's really cool. You're going to be able to find something to plug into this relatively easily. Other thing is this is your power source. So this goes right in like this. So there you got 3 prongs there. It's going to plug in, and then you just plug this into the wall. So that's it. This goes in the wall, put this into the cage, and set your temp, and you're good to go. I do want to point out to you guys is that this does have a max capacity of 400 watts. So again, it's recommended for the hobbyist. This isn't the guy that's going to hook it up to a wall of Freedom Breeder racks and run it off this. I do want to emphasize that this is not a cheap way to heat your cages or racks or reptile room. This is for the hobbyist, the guy that's only got a couple cages, vivarium out in their living room, or, you know, if you have 2 or 3 cages stacked on top of each other and each one has a 45 watt heat panel in there, you'd probably be good with this. If your intent is to breed your animals and you want to do this on a little bit larger scale, I would probably go with a more expensive thermostat. There's a lot of them out there. I personally like the Vivarium electronic stats. Same company, they're great stats, and for the money, you can't go wrong. I mean, you get a lot of bang for your buck for this, but you get a lot of bang for your buck for those Vivarium electronic stats too. So if you're gonna breed, go with a proportional stat. That's probably the safer option. The other thing is, I probably wouldn't use this type of a stat for an incubator. I mean, you can, and you could probably hatch eggs off of it. I know folks have. I think that if you're gonna be putting your time and energy into getting those eggs, I would probably go with a proportional stat to sync up to my incubator. That's just me. You guys can do whatever you want. Again, this thing's pretty solid. It keeps that temperature right where you want it. I think the proportional stats are probably a better, safer option for incubators. One thing that he did do with this, and I'll try and wrap this up for you guys because I know I'm going on, he's brought all the manufacturing in-house. So they did have a third-party person that was actually doing all of this, and so I think this is great coming from the business world. You stake your app when you have a third party that's making part of your product. If you're just going to slap your name on it, you're putting your reputation on their work ethic. And with him bringing everything in house, that's really good for the consumer, for the person that's buying these, because now you know that Rich is overseeing this start to finish in every phase of the manufacturing process. So I think that's really cool. This is pretty much it. It's got the 1 degree threshold, 400 watt capacity. The best part about it is it's only 50 bucks, guys. You can't go wrong with a $50 for a thermostat. And the best thing even still is that if you guys go down and check out the promo code, which is right underneath the link in the description section, it's 25% off. I'm sorry, 20% off. 50 bucks normally, but if you put in the promo code that I have down there right in the description, you get an additional 20% off this week. Head over to Rich, let him know that I sent you. Use the promo code, which is Godbold, my last name. You'll get an additional 20% off. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. It's a great stat. Just make sure that you kind of ask some questions. If you're a little unsure of anything, you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer questions, but Rich is a super open guy. So the best thing to do would just to be reaching out to him and ask him whatever questions you have. Tell him what your home situation is and he can give you a good recommendation. I love this stat. I have not a huge collection, but I have a larger collection than what I would call a hobbyist. I have a couple cages hooked up to this. I just make sure that I'm not hooking up a rack to it. It works for me. I love it, and I hope you guys like it. I stand behind it. I put my reputation on it. I'm going to do more of these as they come out with some of the other sponsors that we have. We have one that does a lot of things with geckos and everything. That's Pangea Reptile. You guys have probably heard of them. We're going to be doing some things out, doing some exclusive showcases on some of these products that come out. If you guys have any concerns or you got questions, I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. You guys can do that via my email, which is also down in the description. Before I sign off though, I want you guys to go ahead and go on down in the description and check out our sponsors and do a little bit of investigating and see what they have to offer. I love them. I think you could pretty much take care of any part of your collection from large or small through reaching out to these folks. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Until next time, you've been watching Godbold Exotics. Head on over to our Patreon page if you'd like to support. Pledge $1, we'd really appreciate it. All right, guys, take care.